Hi, I'm David Barber. This is another in the Music Biz series of podcasts on rockoncolorado.com. Today, we're talking about naming your band. You know, it's really important to get a good band name, but it's also not always all that easy to come up with a good band name. The worst thing you can do is come up with a really bad band name, and we'll talk a little more about that later. In my opinion, a great band name should be short and easy to remember. If you can use only common words that any child knows. You know, if it's one word, that's awesome. If it's just a few words, that's good. Here's some examples. Garbage, Hole, The Who. Everybody knows those kind of words. And everybody understands them. That they're not difficult to spell. That's a perfect band name. Now, I'm a big proponent of naming bands after the main person. You know, if you are Nina Story and it's the Nina Story band, it's pretty clear who's in that band, and you won't have trouble down the road with firing band members or getting fired from your own band. Okay? I've seen this happen. A person puts a band together and down the road doesn't get along with those band members, and they fire that person and keep the name. Bad move. And if this person who put the band together and did all the work had named the band after him or herself, it'd be the other way around. They could go off and start a new band with a different name. So here's things to keep in mind when you're naming your band. First, always check to see if your band name is available. Make sure nobody else is using it first. You may come up with an awesome band name, but chances are somebody else might have already come up with it. So just do a quick Google search and you'll find out right away whether or not that name is available. Okay? There's nothing worse than, starting off a band, playing a few gigs, getting a little momentum going, and then having to change your band name. Bad move. The next thing you want to avoid is the use of capitalization and punctuation that's not normal. Stay away from hyphens, the dash, commas, odd letters being capitalized, because chances are that, when your band name shows up on the marquee or in the paper or wherever it's going to be advertised, they're going to get it wrong. They are. Just trust me, they're going to get it wrong. You also want to avoid names that are really long. Here's one: Eddie Clendenning and the Blue Ribbon Boys. That's not a bad name, but it's really long. It doesn't fit on most signs. It doesn't fit in the advertising. It's going to end up being eventually shortened down to Eddie Clendenning Band or the Blue Ribbon Boys, which is a perfectly good name. Okay? Avoid names that are difficult to pronounce or spell. The best example I've ever seen is a band called Scheherazade. Why don't you try to spell that one? And if you can spell it, or if you see it spelled, do you think you could pronounce it correctly? Probably not. That band did not last long. Anytime you've got very weird, difficult to pronounce or spell names, you want to avoid that. Even with Eddie Clendenning, is it E-E-D-D-I-E or E-D-D-Y? Hard to tell. And if it's a big deal to you because your name is Eddie, maybe you should just go with Ed. Okay, it's okay to make up a new word, okay? But make sure you're consistent with explaining how to pronounce it if you have to. Got a friend named Marcy Baruch. It's B-A-R-U-C-H, which is commonly mispronounced as Baruch or Baruch. It's Baruch, and every time she says it, she has to explain the pronunciation. Every time. Every time it's spelled in her promo pack or on her website or everywhere, right next to it is how to pronounce it. Kind of sucks, but if you're going to go with an unusual name or something, or if you're born with one, just get used to it. You're going to have to do it. Beware of names with uncommon words. You know, I hate to limit you too much because it's creative, but you know, there was a band in my area years ago called Potemkin Square, which is a famous location in Russia. It wasn't long before these guys started being referred to as Pumpkin Square. Yeah, you make it too complicated, that's what's going to happen. Avoid the trend of using inappropriate business words like records and management and ink. I see some hip-hop acts doing this lately. Must be some bigger acts that have done it. If you put, you know, Joe Smith Records, people are going to think, well, why do I want to book a record label when I want a hip-hop act to perform? If you don't know the difference between a label and an act, don't expect people who are going to hire you to know the difference either. Okay? It's okay to have your own label or your own management company or whatever it's going to be, but drop that part for your act. You know, if you're Joe Smith and you're an awesome rapper, go perform under the name Joe Smith. And then your label can be Joe Smith Records. Your management company can be Joe Smith Management. You don't need to put records at the end of your stage name. That's stupid. Sorry, it's stupid. Be careful if you use words like jazz or funk or blues in your name, unless you're going to play almost exclusively that kind of music. Okay? Got a great band in my region called Butner Funkin' Jazz. Well, sometimes the funkin' ends up coming out effing, you know, the bad kind. That turns people off. And the reality is they play funk. They don't play jazz. They can play jazz. They're they know how, but that's not what they do when they play out. They play funk. So they miss out on gigs where people are like, well, I don't want a jazz band, I want a funk band. These guys, if they haven't heard them before, you know, people think, oh, it's a jazz band because they got jazz in the name. Or they want a jazz band and it's got funk in the name, or the effing thing, which gets misread as, you know, and so they miss out on gigs that way. If you're really stuck, you can name your band after the street where you live or where you rehearse. Here's good examples or location. Battery Park. There's a band named Battery Park. Awesome name. Rose Hill Drive. That's a street. Ben Park Drive. That's a street. Pet names work great. You know, if you've got a dog that's always sitting in the corner where you guys are rehearsing, why not name the band after the dog? I mean, if you're really hard up, you know. If you need more resources, go online, Google band names, and there are sites with lists of unused band names that will work great. Okay? Good luck naming your band. This is David Barber for Rock On Colorado. See you next time.